Hello, student. Hope you and your family are fine. Today, we are going to understand the last topic of our syllabus, that is social problem in India. Being a social science student, it is really interesting to know that social problem is one of the relevant topic in sociology, and this is interesting, and this is academically important also, right? Particularly the law student who study sociology only in 2 semesters, right? Because if you want to really understand the crime and its social regions, then we have to understand sociological perspectives, right? We know everyone has attitude about crimes such as abortion, poverty, drugs, and all the other issues. These topics are quite familiar, but they are often not understood scientifically. As we know, sociology gives very different understanding of world. We are quite aware about the concept of such as sociological imagination and sociological perspectives of C. Wright Mills and Peter Berger, respectively. Why and how do particular social problems emerge? These are really relevant questions. Since sociology is gradually becoming more popular science among all the sciences by changing its orientation of research, and we know applied sociology has become the emerging branch of sociology, right? Why sociology is relevant in terms of understanding social problems? Because sociology provides scientific insights, and those scientific insights are quite significant in terms of understanding everyday social problems. Sociology, at its best, employs a debunking orientation that takes observers beyond common sense, that upsets accepted wisdom or things for granted reality. Its message, as Peter Berger comments, is that things are not what they seem. Things are beyond the imaginations, beyond the common sense observations. And that thing can only be understood by sociological perspectives. The study of social problem has become one of the most important and exciting aspect of sociology because it involves the application of scientific research and knowledge to the situation of some of the most difficult and controversial problems confronting the society today. One thing I just want to clear is that as far as sociological approach to social problem is concerned, sociologists think individuals are neither the cause of social problems nor the solutions of social problems. And we already understood this concept while we were having discussion on crime. Unlike biologists and psychologists, Sociologists find such factors that are in society rather than in individuals. When we use sociological imagination, we basically try to transform the harm experienced by individual as private troubles into public issues, into social problems that can be improved. Sometimes a condition accepted as right at one point of time becomes unacceptable and hence harmful later on. For example, we used to have social customs like sati, child marriage even contemporary time, marriage outside the caste is to be understood as a matter of shame, right? The same like the inequality that is intrinsic to traditional marriage, in which the husband is employed outside the home while the wife works inside. You know, was considered by both man and woman as natural just as few years ago, which means that gender sensitization was not into the common sense paralysis, which means that gender inequality was not deemed harmful. But recent time, this phenomena is now considered as social problems because it restricts both women's and men's choice. Right? Max Weber, who was a great sociologist, once states that social science, particularly sociology, can be helpful in the context of understanding social problems since it can provide reasonable objective analysis of the dimension of a condition, accesses the potential consequences for individuals and societies of various strategies for solving the problems, and suggest possible side effect of actually reducing the harm, right? Sociological perspectives offer scientific insights into the source of social problems, the effectiveness of its solutions, and the ramification. Therefore, sociological insights become quite significant for the understanding of social problems in India. When it comes to the very definition of social problems, we define it in terms of a common sense approach, like a condition as a social problem if it harm people or if it is detrimental to the society, right? Social problems affect the entire society. Harm comes in many forms. People can be physically hurt, they can lose money, they can lose job, they can be unemployed, their moral values can be offended, or the environmental in which they live can be degraded, right? So there can be various connotation of social problems as well. But when it comes to the identification of social problem, we have to understand one thing. Like COVID-19 or natural calamities like earthquake, tornadoes, tsunami, these are natural calamities are not considered to be the social problems. Why? They would not be considered social problem because they are not produced by social conditions and cannot be prevented by collective actions or change in social policy. But the impact of COVID 19 is a matter of sociological study because it gives rise to huge migration, unemployment, social stress, rise of domestic violence, so on and so forth. So, a common way to define social problem is to include subjective element, objective conditions, only become social problems when they are perceived to be undesirable by some segment of the public, right? So a problem is considered to be problem at least some segment of public, then we consider that problem a social problem. I was reading an article of Malcolm Spector and John I. Kutsu, and they state a definition of social problem is proposed as a generic phenomena, the phenomena by which members are of groups or societies through assertion of grievances and claims define a punitive conditions as social problem. Then a four-stage natural history model of social problems is described. In stage 1, groups assert the existence and offenses of some conditions. In stage 2, some official agencies responds to the claims. In stage 3, claims and demand re-emerge, expression dissatisfaction with the official responses. And in stage 4, alternative parallels or counter institutions are established. That is the very synthetic and great definition. A social problem can be defined as a harmful condition identified by a segment number of public, as I said, and recognized politically as a needing improvement, right? So according to this definition, social problems are at least three aspects that should be discussed. First, an objective part shows the extent of harm. Second, a subjective component indicates that a harmful conditions has been identified and politically debated. And third is an optimistic aspect suggests that people believe the condition can be improved. Kutzko in 2000 defines social problem exists when an influential group defines a social condition as threatening its values, and when the condition affects a large number of people, and when the condition can be remedied by collective actions, right? And if you try to understand social problem, one insight that I found is social evils are generally the result of existing social conditions. Social problems are generally the result of social existing conditions. For example, crime, prostitution, and political corruption are the natural product of existing social conditions. How? The crime against property grows out of the violation of mores while sanction private ownership. In fact, the whole Marxist philosophy dedicated itself to emancipate society from the bondage of the private property. Prostitution is the inevitable result of sex taboo between sexes. Kingsley Davis, who did excellent work on prostitution, states the greatest enemy of prostitution is free intercourse for pleasure and friendship rather than for profit. Political corruption is the result of democratic process where financial success is placed above political honesty. So these are all problems which are the very conditions of existing social conditions. I was reading a book called Social Problem in India. Ram Ahuja states 7 characteristics of social problems. First is all social problems are violated by the ideal situations. Second is all social problems have some common basis of origin. Third is all social problems are interconnected, right? So, due to the cause of modernity, various new social problems have been arising because of the changing nature of social agencies of social control, right? All social problems are social in origin. As I said, there should be a particular segment of people who defines some problem as a problem, right? And all the social problems are social in their result. That is, they affect all sections of society. The responsibility for social problems is social, that is, they require a collective approach for their social solutions. Right? So, the best approach I would like to suggest as far as the understanding of social problem is concerned is the social construction approach. You know, the beauty of social construction approach involves examining how social problems are created, institutionalized, and made into an agreed upon tradition. Social constructionist theory basically implications for the study of social problems are that are suppose social problem are simply a construction, right, related to the structure of a specific social context. For instance, some believe social problems are straightforward, factual issues concerning what is right or wrong or in need of address by a moral framework. However, social constructionist theorists suggest that The social problems are never self-evident. For instance, while starting my lecture, I was talking about the two important thinkers, C. Wright Mill and Peter Butcher. C. Wright Mills once defined politics as the public construction of the private troubles. And the whole understanding of sociological imagination is based on the assumption that it is possible to convert private troubles into a public issues, and this ability gives rise to the sociological imagination, right? uh, in addition to the sociological imagination perspective, there is a sociologist called Herbert Blumer, social psychologist, who stated that social problems are have no existence in some objective a priority state, but are instead produced in the process of collective definition of recognition, uh, legislation, mobilization, formalization of proposed responses and implications. Right? So, despite the various stands of thought, social constructionist theories examine the meaning making of both problems and solutions as fluid, changing, contextual, and often disputed. Right? When it comes to the explanation of the causes of the social problem, I think in order to understand social problem, we must keep in mind that complex nature of social phenomena. When it comes to the account of some characteristics of today's society that led to social problem, has as the changing structure of family, the lowering of standard of public morality, the decline of the acceptance of organized religion, the rise of conflicting political ideologies, the increasing importance of the central government, cultural lag, social crisis, so and so forth. These are all the very regions of the social problems. If we talk about cultural lag, we are quite aware about the concept of cultural lag, and we talked about it in first semester. What does it mean? It means that in modern society, changes in the material culture are readily adopted due to apparent utility of new articles, which certainly bring immediate changes in human relations as well. On the other hand, non-material cultures, such as beliefs, institutions or modes, which control social relations, generally remain rigid, with the result that there may arise social disorganization, and sooner or later that social disorganization convert into a social problem. So, cultural lag gives rise to uncertainty and ambiguity of roles. I can give some example. A modern housewife is, particularly in urban India, is not sure whether she should play the role of mother or employee, or a light-hearted companion. Some of these roles are mutually compatible, but others are not. Uh, we already discussed role conflict in sociology of everyday life, and there we already discussed like how role conflict is a reason of modern social stress, right? So many wives try to perform all roles assigned to her, but no so successfully. And this often results in personal frustrations, insecurity, leading to disruption of family life or led to family disorganization in India. So sometimes social problems, social disorganization is though a part of social change also. Social problems exist in those area of human relationship in which there is an awareness that persons and their collective behavior deviates from what is considered socially desirable. For example, premarital sexual behavior is a social problem because it, it endangers the traditional value of chastity from within. Unemployment is a social problem because it threatens to make the unemployed depend upon others for support or die of starvation. Modern recreation such as disco party or rave party it's social problem because it has become so commercialized that the primary motive of satisfying the genuine needs of man is felt to be sacrificed in the interest of commercial gain and exploitation. So, what I make you guys to understand here is that social problems constitute the core social disorganizations. When these values changes, social problems come into comes into existence. So, let's try to understand the link between individual and social problems. We already understood while we were having discussion on crime and its various theories. The initial task is to understand why individual act. Why do individual commit crime? Why does a person use drug or become alcoholic? By using Robert K. Merton's theory, being understood, being unemployed, and so what Robert K. Merton states, being unemployment or being unemployed and having friends who uh, use drug are typically explanations, right? And these variables are social psychological in origin or impact, right? And social psychology is very excellent perspectives to understand social problems. As we know, social disorganization has been analyzed in terms of social problems, social pathology, and social diseases. And when social disorganization becomes social problems, the process, as Lefebvre and Kedge states, the process of identifying a social problem typically involves feedback between the people and the opinion leader. Those who bring issues to people's attention and teach them where their interest lies. So, social organizations breeds social problems by their economic and social efficiency, right? And when it comes to the relationship between social disorganization and social problem, Eliot Merrill gave a very beautiful definition. Like social disorganization represents a breakdown in the equilibrium forces, a decay in social structure, right? So that the old habits and forms of social control no longer function efficiently. Dr. Morgan has mentioned the three causes in the present day society that lead to social disorganization. The first is the individual in the complex societies cannot learn all the culturally defined responses because of the specific violations, specific vocations within the result that no individual can ever be exact counterpart of those social order. The modern individual family functions as a cultural defining agencies, interrupt of distills. The general culture complexes of the group, its peculiar fashion under conditions has emotionality with the result that there is some variations from the generally accepted notions. Third thing he talked about is there is a cultural participation by the individual outside the social order. And the individual in the complex societies live either actively or imaginatively in order in other culture either through the actual travel or by distant communications bringing various responses. And if you observe modern urban life where the individual is motivated by personal rather than communal aims, there is hardly any agreement between the social and individual interest. For example, the present COVID 19 migrant crisis is to be understood in that context. You know, city dwellers just vast the struggling, walk of migrants. So, uh, one thing I missed in terms of explanation of the social problem, one of the important sociologists is C.H. Cooley. C.H. Cooley states that the social disorganization is a stage in the larger process of institutional growth and decay. And he states that there is a logical coherence between the social problem and the social disorganizations. And according to him, incipient institutional organizations arises tentatively out of a commonly felt need, and the tentative state passes into one of the efficient in which individual needs and institution forms are complementary in character. Having become stabilized, however, institutional norms tend to be perpetuated in their own sake, and this marks the period of formalism in which there becomes increasingly a less harmony between the individual needs and the institutional forms. And this third stage is followed by disorganization, in which the institutional forms lose their utility, leaving the individual without the guidance and discipline. Right? Out of this disorganization, new attempts at adjustment are made, and though the cycle, begins over again. Right? At what extent the institutional arrangement satisfied human needs is crucial in terms of understanding the social problems. In addition to that, sociologists, argued, when changes arising from the conflict go on too rapidly so that the existing structure is employed in advance of the development of the new elements to take place of the old. Crime, divorce, unemployment, alcoholism, and suicide are all indices of different aspects of disorganized society. So if we classify disorganizations, some of them are personal disorganizations such as juvenile and adult delinquency, crime in all manifestations, mentally deranged persons, prostitution, suicide, alcoholism. Second category is family disorganization, that is indicated by the divorce, desertion, and disruption in the family. And divorce is a real modern problem. And the third one is, indicated by the population exposure and political corruption, vice and crime, etc. Philosophers like Bernard Russell, observe that lack of adjustment in the institutions based on the authority of the past is responsible for the present social problem. One of my favorite thinkers, Karl Mannheim, views that unplanned capitalism and policy of laissez-faire are responsible for social disintegration of the present society, that is the manifestation in terms of social problems in India. While discussing on the cyclical theory of social change, we came to know about Sorokin, who mentioned the changes from the idealistic to ideational culture to censored culture, the main causes of social disorganization. We are quite aware about the concept of enemy and enemy strain theory of Motor, right? Many thinkers, contributed in terms of theorization of the social problems. According to Cotton, in disorganized society, there is considerable discrepancy between what is given variably and what is demonstrated in practice. So, about the five main social processes uh, in society, that is communication, conflict, competition, accommodation, and assimilation. And these processes bring change in the society. The same process may bring social disorganizations and social problems in society and are violent or unable to control those situations. Right? So, we are coming to the last section of the social problem, like solution to the social problem. We have five main things by which we can control the social problems. First is prevention. Second one is intervention. Third one is social reform. Fourth one is reconstruction. And fifth one is elevating consequences, right? Whether or not we can solve the particular problem. We may also want to, direct attention towards elevating the negative consequences of the problem. For example, even though the problem of drug abuse persists, we can still do things such as help the victim of crimes that are committed um, as a part of problem of drug abuse. So in coming lecture, we are going to explain these points, how we are going to solve the problem and can fall into these five categories,